Okay, well, Connor, thank you for joining us today. Thanks for being here to talk with us about River Valley, about your mission, your passions, what you guys are doing. The goal of this conversation is pretty simply just to hear your story, talk a little bit about why you guys chose to use Nurture. But honestly, after being there with you for that conference, I realized in your breakout session, you have quite a passion for pastoring people well, for caring for them. So, without further ado, let's dive into it.
Yeah, thanks so much. The great thing about Nurture when we first saw it is that it kind of answered all of the questions that we've been asking on how to better pastor people as your church grows larger. Now, we understand with the just the scale of churches, they see so many people, some of them have multiple campuses, and we want to steward all that God's doing. So we're grateful for growth, we're excited for growth, and we want to encourage other churches to grow. And with that growth comes the responsibility of pastoring all the people that come to your church. And over the years, as the church grows and as your database gets longer and longer, unfortunately, having an intimate personal relationship with every single person in the church can become very challenging. And so, what Nurture did is it allowed us to answer the questions on what are people doing? When are they not showing up? What happens when they decline serving? Or what are the indicators that they might need more care beyond what we can see on the surface? And we live in a culture in Minnesota that puts on a front, if you will, where you ask, "How are you doing?" "I'm doing great." "Well, what's going on in your life?" "Well, my mom died, my dog died, I lost my job, and my car got a flat tire, but I'm doing great." And you're like, "Are you kidding me? What are you talking about? That how can we help you? How can we support you?" So people in our context don't always share what's going on deep in their life, and they actually want you to ask. So that's the double-edged sword. Not only are they not going to tell you, but they want you to ask and for you to initiate to show that you care. And so with Nurture, we've been able to get these indicators right away, see where people are at and how we might need to better care for them. And when we reach out to them, most of the time they're so appreciative. We've had so many conversations and messages of people that have said, "I was literally praying today and asking God, how can I get more connected again?" Or I stopped showing up to small group and I didn't know how to get plugged back into the church. And then you texted me. What in the world? And God is using that as an answer to their prayer. Just a simple text or email follow up with someone can totally engage their faith and get them plugged back into church. So that's just the short answer of what we've seen and why I'm so excited as we continue to expand this, not only within our campus pastors, our associate pastors, and most importantly, our connections pastors. But what we've also been doing is setting up how we can utilize this for our kids pastors and for our youth pastors to care for their volunteers. And so all of the volunteers, all of the people that are connected into our church and all the new people are getting followed up with and cared for on a regular basis.
Wow, that's incredible. You said something, and there's so many people that will never fill out like a care form or a benevolence form and tell you what they're going through. But I've been shocked to see how many people their first response is something along the lines of, wow, I cannot believe God's timing. And so it's so funny because of course we have rules and algorithms for following patterns and changing and surfacing alerts based on, okay, well, if they were saying yes to serve 88% of the time and now that's down to 50% of the time, you're going to want to know that. So there's some science behind it. But at the same time, it's amazing that you can use a system like this and the Holy Spirit can be present in every single moment.
Yeah, exactly. You think that it might just be systems and procedures, and how can God be leveraging data and science and artificial intelligence? But the good news is the Holy Spirit is above all things and works through all things, and so even those indicators can turn into answered prayer moments for people. And that's the whole point: is that we want to leverage technology in step with the power of the Holy Spirit in order to pastor people well.
Yeah, amazing. You mentioning technology, I'm curious. I'm going off script a little bit here with this question. You've been around church long enough to know that technologies can fluctuate, and you can think you're getting one thing. I was an executive pastor for 17 years. I don't know if you knew that, Connor,
Yeah.
but for 17 years, I was sold everything under the sun. Like, this thing is going to change the game. This is going to do that. And the amount of fatigue that I'd have to put our staff through to switch all these different systems. I'm curious if you could speak to that a little bit, and then how has nurture, and you can be honest, has nurture created any consistency for you guys in terms of, well, if the sky falls and bad things happen and we have to jump around operational systems, at least our ministry staff has some consistency. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, for sure. I think what is unique about Nurture is it's kind of the hub and spoke model, but Nurture is the hub where everything else is the spoke. And a lot of times you get sold on the spokes of here's a database and here's an email list and here's a way to follow up with volunteers and here's how to track giving. And that's where it can be a little bit of software and data fatigue because most people aren't like me and they don't like to have 14 tabs open with all of the different metrics and engagement points. They want to pastor people. They want to engage with people. They want to go out to coffee, go out to lunch, visit people in the hospital. They don't need a business degree in data technology to be able to figure these things out. And they don't want to do that. So when it comes to nurture, it becomes the hub or the one-stop shop where you get to see all of those metrics built in from all the different kinds of softwares and be able to make pastoral inferences based on that data. And so that's what we've been seeing, or at least what I've been trying to articulate to our team. Now, I think we're playing a little catch up because of that fatigue that oftentimes pastors or ministry leaders can be a little cynical about how they engage with software because everything is changing so rapidly. Oh, we're going to use this, and then we're going to use that, and then we're going to build this out, and we're going to spend, $100,000 to do this, and it didn't work for us. And so I think what we've seen is the people that have started to adopt it and go all in have already started to see tremendous results. And so it's using those examples as ways that we can encourage the rest of our pastoral team, the rest of our ministry team to be engaging with it on a regular basis. And the other thing that's super important, and I've actually talked to a couple of churches about this, is data in is what's important in order to get good data out. And so many people complain about, well, we don't have good data and we don't know how to make good decisions. Well, unfortunately, that's your fault because you have to have the right data to put in order to get the right data out. And that's what I'm critical of our team all the time. Are we making sure that we're updating people's profiles accordingly? Do we have the right information? If there's a discrepancy, in nurture, the problem is that it's the discrepancy in whatever database it's originally found in. So those are some of the things that actually really help us and have brought some highlights and some great questions because people will see a discrepancy in nurture that they weren't looking for or that they didn't notice in a deeper database somewhere else. So it's actually allowing us to clean up parts of our data and better define what we want to be looking for so that it can produce the kind of results that we want to produce. The problem again is that a lot of people don't know how to leverage their databases or their different analytical tools, and they're also in isolation. So, opening an email, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? What's the context? That doesn't mean anything other than if you're tracking email open rate, you either are good or you're bad. You can track people's attendance. And again, is attendance you want it more or do you want it less? Those things are all individual, but when you put them all together and you start to actually see, build a persona of an individual, start to see the different habits that they form, that's where you can encourage them in different ways and specific ways. I want you to go on a missions trip. I want to talk to you about joining this small group. It's time for you to start serving. These are not random text blasts that go out to your entire database. These are targeted and specific ways that you can minister and pastor people based on the things that they're doing in their life. And so that's just one of the ways that I see this has been super helpful and something that will continue to propel our team forward as we're utilizing data, as we're trying to navigate software, but also enjoying a partnership with a company that actually wants to be there for the long haul and not change every 6 months, every 3 months, every year. Okay, great. Now we got to learn a new system. Nobody's really excited about that. So that's why we love the future.
That's great. Thank you for that, Connor. Yeah, we love that it feels like partnership with you guys and with all of the people that are doing this with us. It's hard for us having ministry background. It's hard not to become an extension of your team because we're looking at your system and going, "Wait, does Pastor Allen know about this? Does Connor know about this yet?" And once you get connected in those ways, it's like we can't let you guys even at using the system, we kind of refuse to let you fail.
Yeah.
So I've looked. I don't know if you even know this, but we looked and we've been following your ratios. And so since you guys started using it, you know, you guys went through some stuff. There was some cybersecurity stuff that you dealt with. There was some system switching that had to happen because of some of this stuff. And during that time was about when we brought Nurture in for you guys. And we looked at the beginning and we had about a one overall with all that going on, there was about a 1 to 4 front door to back door ratio in engagement where you might have this many new attendees but you had this many that were at risk currently. You might have this many new givers but this many that are going at risk because of all the stuff going on. We looked recently and you guys have almost completely closed that back door, which if you think about simple math, I go, if you run in a season where that back door is larger than the front door, you're going to be in a season of decline. If you run in a season where you've got more new people engaging than people that are falling at risk and slipping through the cracks, you're going to be in a growth season. So, would you talk to me a little bit about that? Are you seeing that in your metrics? And are you guys seeing the growth and the increase come back to the place that you want to see it? And I'd just love to hear your perspective on all of that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I know that right now at a few of our campuses, we've actually increased the number of services that we offer. Recently, we were celebrating multiple campuses were reaching record highs in their yearly attendance. And obviously, there's lots of factors that play into that, but I can't imagine that one of those factors isn't the fact that we are engaging with people better, that we're following up with people better, that we're helping care for people when they are at risk or discovering things that are happening in their life because of the systems that we're using. So, absolutely, we're seeing multiple tailwinds, not just in the area of data, but that's a huge piece is getting your data right, getting our follow-up processes right, actually adding more to our follow-up processes as well because of this. And we're seeing that, again, multiple of our campuses are seeing record attendance. We're adding more services, and that's exactly what you want to see when you're adding these kinds of things to your pastoral portfolio, if you will.
Wow, incredible. All right, so I'm curious. You've got this edge to you that I love, and I don't know how to put it into perfect words, Connor. But you're kind of like I don't know if it's because you grew up in a family of pastors, but you have like this old school ministry mindset, but new school tech on top of it. I'm curious. Would you give us your thoughts on if you call yourself a pastor, what does that actually look like? Like from your mind, and you gave a little bit of this when we were together last time, but would you just give a little bit of this is my philosophy, this is what I believe about shepherding and pastoring? How do you think about this?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, it all started when I was first on staff at River Valley, and my dad is the lead pastor of our church. He's been my pastor for my whole life, and so I've grown up in the same church and been able to see it through every stage and season. And when I first started, which was 10 and a half years ago, if you can believe that, when I first started pastoring,
Wow.
Yeah, I know I have a almost 3-year-old and a 9-month-old at the time that we're recording this, which is crazy to think about. But when I first started in ministry, I was a connections pastor, and I was the very first connections pastor. And the job description was basically care for the people who serve and are in small groups and figure the rest of it out. So I kind of had a blank slate, if you will, in some respects, but also a heavy burden to build what we wanted to define as a new ministry in our church. And my whole ministry was defined by meeting with people. I would literally meet with 7 to 10 people a week. And you could go back to my old email reports and look at it if you want. But it was 7 to 10 people going to Chick-fil-A, going to Chipotle, going to Starbucks, meeting with people before church started. And that was what was really moving the needle. There were so many people I met that had been going to church for decades, and they would tell me as a 21 or 22-year-old pastor, this is the first time I've ever met with a pastor in my entire life.
Wow.
I've been going to church for 20 years and I've never had a one-on-one meeting with a pastor before in my whole life. That's a travesty. How can we be shepherding people? How can we be discipling them and not actually engaging with them? Now, I understand the demands of ministry when it comes to being a lead pastor and working with the board and writing sermons and caring for people in our community. But as church has started to scale, which I believe in a positive way through campus ministry and large churches and large pastoral staff, we inadvertently become in love with the bureaucracy of the ministry and not the people in the ministry. And newsflash, ministry is people. There's no ministry without people. So I don't understand how we've shifted over the last few years. And I really do think COVID played a huge part in that, that there was still kind of that semblance of engaging with people on a regular basis. But then we started shifted to doing Zoom calls and doing online church and making music on Amazon or on Apple Music and things like that. And we lost touch with the actual art of pastoring, which I believe is meeting with people and shepherding people. So my whole ministry was marked by going out to lunch, going out to coffee, getting to know people. And that's how people got connected. The new people would come and I would hear their story, answer their questions, point them in the right direction. And I still know people. I can point to people in our church today that I met with 10 years ago that are now deacons, serving in our church, helping plant new campuses, people that are leading ministries, all because I followed up with their Connect card that I actually went to coffee with them. And so in my day, which is crazy to say, I know it was 10 years ago, but back in my day, I actually had to get a physical card and put them all on my table and text them or email them at 7 or 8 p.m. and try to figure out where these people are at, or if I wanted to get new serving team members, or if I wanted to get new small group leaders, I had to go out and I had to do the greyhound sniffing around and figure out where these people are. But now we've got all these tools. Now we've got all this data. Now we have all these software that can actually help us do that so much easier. So whenever I hear people complaining about, oh, it's so hard to get, I'm like, dude, you don't even know. You don't even know. These pastors that were even before me, you had to have your Excel spreadsheets and I had to, you know, look over all these reports and I had to do all these things. Come on, stop it. I know you're just asking ChatGPT to write your emails anyway. So don't even try to say that it's harder now than it was back then. No, it's not. So to me, that's kind of how I lead and how I pastor is don't neglect the actual art of pastoring, which is ministering and discipling to real people in real time. And you can utilize the tools and the software that is being developed in our modern technology to help you pastor, not to make you engage with people less, but ultimately to engage with people more. That's how I lead. That's how I've been encouraging and also challenging my team and the people that I lead is don't don't come at me with I met with 2 people this week. There's no way. Because I could find 150 people that would be willing to meet with you in the push of one button. So it takes hard work, Yes, it does. To actually text people, to actually email them, to set up a meeting time, to drive to the coffee shop, to show up, to text, I'm wearing a blue jacket. Do you know how many times I had to do that? I'm wearing a red shirt. I had to do that because I've never met these people. But that's what pastoring is. That's what meeting people is. And that's what is going to lead to greater discipleship. People don't want to see you behind a screen. They want to see you across the table.
Wow. I love it, Connor. You are a shepherd who is willing to smell like sheep, and I love that about you. It is from the day that I met you, and from hearing you talk about this, and from your passion, I knew that this was a conversation that we had to have. Thank you for making time to talk with us. Thank you for your burden. Is probably even light of a word for you. You so get it. You so love the church. You so love the bride of Christ, and it's inspiring to watch. And even I'll just say, as somebody who, of course, people know your dad, people are seeing your brother's podcast. There's something so unique that God has carved out for you. And it's so obvious to me to see that it's like a banner over your life of do the work, be a great pastor, be a shepherd. And I love it, man. I'm so grateful for you. I'm grateful for our friendship, for our partnership, grateful for River Valley Church and that you guys have partnered with us at Nurture. And let's keep up the great work. It's really, really exciting.
Amen. Yes, thank you so much.